Hi and welcome back to the Mindful Mobility series, part of the Whole Life Challenge with me, Luke Jones from heromovement.net. So today we're going to be focusing on the torso. So we're looking at the core, the side body and the lower back as well. Lower back pain is something that affects millions of people around the world. You might be one of them. So hopefully some of these mobilizations and strengthening exercises we're going to go through are going to help you if you are in pain, or prevent you or reduce your likelihood of being in pain in the future if you're not currently. So we're just going to start by checking in and seeing how the area of the body that we're working on today feels. So bringing that mindfulness, bringing a bit more attention to our body as opposed to just rushing in and trying to just make changes when we don't know where we're necessarily starting from. So just rotating through the body a little bit. Just move, do what feels right for you. You can tilt the pelvis forward and back, so forward and then backwards. You can move from side to side. You can maybe do a few circles through the hips. Just see how things are feeling for you right now. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just checking in, seeing where your baseline is and then how that changes throughout the session. So if we begin the first exercise, we're going to mobilize the diaphragm. So it's the big muscle involved in our breathing mechanics. And because of everyday stresses and simply the fact that we're not necessarily taught how to breathe, the diaphragm often gets a little bit sleepy and is not as involved in our breathing as we would perhaps like it to be. So we're going to switch things back on, get it moving and get our breathing nice and full and oxygenate the body as we're meant to be able to. So we're going to start by doing the 3-part breath. It's something you might have come across before. We touched on it in earlier sessions very briefly, but we're going to use it as a mobilization this time. So we're breathing into the belly, into the torso and sort of the side body, the ribs, and then into the chest. So we're filling the torso as much as we can with air, and then we're doing a long, slow exhale. So in through the mouth, in through the nose, sorry, and then out through the mouth. So just going to do five deep breaths just to mobilize the diaphragm, create some space in the body that we can then start working with. So first big deep breath, so 3 stages. So you can put your hands on your torso so you can feel everything lift in. So deep breath in. We'll go for one more. So now we've opened things up a little bit. We're now going to move towards the side body. So when we're working the core, when we think about the core, we often only think about the muscles on the front, the visible muscles, sort of the 6-pack, and we'll maybe touch on sort of the lower back as well, but we often neglect the side body, and this is an area of the body that can often get quite stiff and tacked down. So we're going to do a mobilization that's going to help loosen that up a little bit. So we're going to put the feet wider than shoulder widths, and we're going to start by just extending up and over. So I won't give you any instructions for now. Just reaching up and over, doing what feels right. So now bringing a little bit more mindfulness to that. When we reach up and over, think about a big arc going over the top of your body. instead of collapsing down at the side, we want to be reaching up as much as we can. And we come back to center. Same on the other side, we're reaching up and over. It's almost as if we're reaching for something that's just out of reach above us. As we get into that end range, we can also then take a big deep breath. We might be able to go a little bit deeper. And then as we reach up on the other side too, get to that end range, take a big deep breath. Get a little bit deeper. So we could spend more time going through that, going through more repetitions, and you'd find that your range would extend probably quite significantly with that. We'll move on to another exercise. So we've mobilized the diaphragm with our deep breathing, and we've opened up the side body. So now we're going to work on the sagittal planes, forward and backwards, and we're going to move to the wall to do this one. So this is a drill that I picked up from Ido Portal. It looks a bit strange, like many of the exercises we've done, but it's a really effective one for really opening up through the spine, getting some motion through not just the lower back, but all the way up the spine. So we're going to come facing the wall here, stood about a foot or so away, and we're going to start by hinging at the hips a little bit and leaning the nose to lightly touch the wall. Following that, the chin's going to come to the wall, then the sternum, and then the hips. So I said it looked a bit strange, and we're just going to repeat that motion for now. So nose, chin, sternum, and then sort of the stomach and the hips. And you'll notice when the hips are touching the wall, that's when the nose is kind of at its furthest point away. So we'll start by just doing these sort of compartmentalized individual movements. So it's nose, chin, sternum, hips, nose, chin, sternum, hips. After a little while, we can sort of turn it into a bit more of a flow and start flowing through the spine a little bit more. So instead of the compartmentalized movements, it starts to look a bit more like a spinal wave. There's a wave going through the body. So you can start to kind of exaggerate that movement a little bit more. We can then take a little step back, and instead of actually touching the wall, we're just coming a few centimeters away from it. So we're just using that wall as a bit of a guide. You can reverse the motion, you can do lots of variations side to side and sort of diagonal, but we'll just stick with that forward and back motion for now. So just working through a few more waves. You just take your time. If you need to stop and just break the movement down again, that's completely fine. You just work at whatever level that you're at right now. So just do a few more waves. Again, just breathe in freely throughout. Last couple. So whilst that's not one that you might want to do at the gym as part of your warm-up, it really is an effective one that you can do at home and incorporate into your movement practice, maybe before you head out for a run, before you head out for exercise, or in your morning routine, just to loosen up the spine, get things moving properly. So on a similar note, we're going to work on something called a Jefferson curl now. So this is just going into flexion all the way through the spine. So you're tucking your chin to your chest to start with, and then one vertebra at a time, you're just rolling down to the floor. When you reach kind of the end range, You're then going to start rolling up one vertebra at a time. If you see it from the side, it's a very slow motion, trying to get motion through every vertebra. Just breathe in deeply throughout. It's a great one for releasing that lower back. You can also, if you're finding that getting to the floor is perhaps quite easy, you can stand up on a platform, on some blocks or a small table or a bench, and then you've got a little bit more range of motion to reach down to the floor. It's just slow and steady. You can also start to add small weights to this. I'd recommend starting very light, just a few kilos, if that's something that you want to do. So it's a type of loaded stretching then, where you're using an external weight to get you a little bit deeper into mobilization. What you can also do at the end range of that Jefferson curve, we go down to the bottom. If your feet are up on a block, if you've got a little bit more space before you hit the floor, is take that deep breath in, fully exhale. What you'll often find is that you get a little bit more range of motion. So again, bringing the breath into it, bringing a little bit more mindfulness into these positions, and just making those tiny little tweaks can actually make a big difference long term. So I'm going to finish now with a couple of strengthening exercises. The first one is one you might have seen in yoga. It's also used by a man called Dr. Eric Goodman from Foundation Training. So he calls it the founder. So it's a variation of that, which is going to do kind of a hip hinge to strengthen the deep core and the lower back muscles, and just kind of tie everything together. So we're going to start in just a neutral standing posture. Shoulders are back and down, feet are screwed into the floor, arches are high. We're going to bring our elbows up into that sort of 90-degree position. Maybe squeeze the shoulder blades back and down a bit more. Then we're going to hinge at the hips. So just keeping the spine nice and neutral, slight bend at the knees, just sitting the hips back a little bit. You can do this against a wall, so you can have it so your bum sort of touches the wall as you hinge back. So we're hinging back and we're lengthening through the head, and imagining that we're kind of extending through the bottom of the back too. Then we come back up, we can squeeze the glutes at the top, and go back down. So in this position, we're really focusing on retracting and depressing those shoulder blades, keeping everything squeezed back and down. Similar to that thoracic extension drill we did a few sessions back. Go back up, squeeze, come back down. This time we're going to pull the hands behind. Take a deep breath in, into the spine, into the lower back. Then if it feels comfortable for you, if not, then you stay here or you can come back up. We're going to extend the hands out in front. Again, keeping the spine long. We don't want to be rounding over or curving too much the other way. Keeping that neutral spine. Another deep breath in. Then one last one. We're going to reach the hands up overhead if that feels comfortable. Again, if you need to come out of this at any point, then you can do so. So we're still in that hip hinge. Deep breath in. And exhale. Shoulders come back into that 90-90 position, squeezing back and down, and then we come. So I'm going to finish off with one of my favorite core stabilization exercises. So we've created a lot of mobility through the spine, through the lower back and the torso and the core. Now we're looking at strengthening that position as well as the last exercise. So we're going to get down onto the floor, onto your mat or onto the floor, and coming onto our backs. I'm going to bring the knees towards the chest, so at 90 degrees. The shoulders are back and down, and keep that lower back pressing into the floor. So if you had a belt or a strap underneath your lower back, you wouldn't be able to pull that out. So if I had it underneath there and I was pulling, it would be stuck. So that's the sort of the motion that we're trying to replicate all throughout this movement, and we're trying to keep that lower back pinned, because that's activating some of the deep core musculature that's going to help stabilize the core, stabilize the pelvis, and keep us in a good position. So if we just want to stay here for now, that's brilliant. If you can feel kind of the deep core working, that's amazing. You can extend your arms up. But if we're able to, I'm going to slowly start to extend the opposite arm and leg. Extending out. Again, keeping that lower back flat to the floor. If you start to feel that lower back coming up, then maybe you're going a little bit too far. If you have to stop here, that's great. We're just going to pull it back up to here. Just working in whatever range is available to you right now. Just breathe in throughout. And one more. So by strengthening the deep core musculature, the transverse abdominis, we're able to better stabilize our pelvis. And that's not just useful in the gym if we're lifting weights or doing our chosen activity, but it's great during everyday life. It's one of the big causes of lower back pain is weakness in kind of the lower abdominals, the deep core musculature that helps keep everything in place and working properly. So that's it for this session. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you took something valuable from it. In terms of your homework, is just to be a little bit more mindful of the position of your pelvis. So are you going into that forward tilted position when you're standing? Are you tilting backwards? And how can you start to maybe bring your attention towards that and maybe make a few adjustments as well? You can also have a play around with some of those exercises, particularly that spinal wave one and the last two strengthening exercises we did as well. Incorporating them into your daily routine can make a massive difference when it comes to your core strength and your spinal health.